Go where your best prayers take you, unclench the fists of your spirit and take it easy. Breathe deeply of the glad air and live one day at a time. Know that you are precious and learn to trust. Amen.
Amen.
Well, good morning to all of you. It's good to see you this morning. I don't know about you, but I was up pretty early, and those first raindrops began to fall as I drove in to downtown with the sun not yet up. And my attention, and I'm sure yours has been, turned to North and South Carolina and the hurricane. So really forced to pause for a moment and realize there are people at peril, in grave danger still. They will be suffering for weeks to come, and our hearts and minds go out to them. This city has been greatly generous. We will be asked to be generous in the future, of course, but our main thing may be just to slow our hearts and minds down and remember there is really a struggle. Some of you vacation in that area. It's one of our places. Castle Beach has been kind of home to my boys. They grew up there for 25 years. And it's hard to see and watch those red and yellow bands of rain literally go across that place for 2.5 days. Just mind-boggling. So hearts and minds are with them this morning as lots of people bring rescue and recovery. Well, I'll turn your attention to another topic. Maybe frivolous, but maybe not. Well, good morning. That was worth the day right there. Steve Boyce's grandchild. Of course you would do that. Steve, just got your personality. But you know what that is, a smartphone. And I've been reading the last few days and weeks because some friends have sent me a lot of information about the newest technology. And some of you techie people know what it is. They're working on the 5G. Did you know that? And it's going full speed. The president's behind it. The Congress behind it. And it is going to happen. G is for generation, right? We're in 4G mode right now, which is supposed to move our data, our information smoothly, efficiently, quickly. Not. 4G doesn't work a lot of the time. As you know, you're back to 3G, 2G, or 1G. It happens all the time. And thus 5G. But what's interesting is more than just the speed and kind of intensity of this technology is the real thinking behind it as well. Because 5G will enable some powerful things to happen, like self-propelled cars and trucks. New robotic surgeries that we don't even know about that are being tested. New imaging that will bring medical devices to our fingertips in important kind of ways. So the technology is not just to speed things up, although it does feel like that. Things get faster and faster. But it's also to make some improvement. But I know that change, I don't know about you, but all of those changes feel a lot the same. We change so rapidly, so quickly. It's just quick turnover. Some of you younger folks don't feel it nearly as the people in my generation and older. So y'all don't get to voice your assent to this, but I'm telling you, I speak for y'all this morning. It is harder for older people. The technology rapidly feels like almost it slips right underneath us. So many people feel out of touch. So technology sometimes is kind of a negative thing. I guess you're aware of that. If you're not, be aware of that. At the same time, look at some of what it brings us, incredible things. So I'm going to give you an example of technology, I think, at its finest. Apple is probably pretty good at what they do, don't you think? Well, this is interesting. Apple sends a video to every one of their employees every day. Did you know that? Every day they get a video. Now, whether they watch it, I guess is up to them. Maybe big brother or big sister's watching over them. They get a video about their technology, about their products, about their improvements, about their problems every day. And they have a thing called the loop. This makes it even better. The loop is a way for every employee to be online with the company about that technology. So the least paid person, the newest person at Westtown Mall in the Apple store can look at that and respond and say, hey, I've got a suggestion for you, or there's a problem, the customer has been saying X. Do you know where that information goes? To the head of retail at Apple. It'd be like Jim Haslam answering every note and letter that comes to Pilot Corporation. It's the truth. Isn't it fascinating? It's powerful. And she responds with her team to everyone. You catch what's going on? Apple's saying something very powerful that we might miss, that everybody counts. Every opinion counts. And believe it, every dollar counts. Not wrong about that. They're about improvement. They're about sales. But with their sales force, they're about inclusion. They are really trying to say, you help us be better, so your opinion matters. Guess what? Jesus said that a long time ago. He really did. I'm not making a weird link to the two. Today's story is exactly that point. Jesus is with his young friends, the young women, the young men around him. The conversation comes up, who am I? What are people talking about? What are they saying about us? What are they saying about me? And they give him answers, right? Maybe you're Elijah. Maybe you're some prophet that's come back. Maybe you're conjuring up Moses and doing something kind of sleight of hand with Moses at your side. And then he asks them the real question, which is the point of today. But who do you say that I am? He puts it all right there. Who do you say that I am? And it is incredibly important what they answer, as it is incredibly important what you answer. I think the case was closed right then, that the real authority and faith is what you think. You, personally. Yeah, you who are listening to me this morning, y'all are with me, right? It is what you think that matters most. And believe it or not, that's not some new age thought up by Apple. You see, it's ancient wisdom that comes from Jesus. And isn't it true that what you think matters? Because it guides what you choose. It guides your behavior. Now, you can say someone else has influence, of course. Church has influence, teachers have influence, family has influence, but what you do matters most. What you say and what you choose is what it's all about. Jesus put his finger dead on the issue. I have a Fred Craddock story for you, one of my favorites. And Fred Craddock, I'm going to tell his stories till I can't tell any, till I've told them all, because they're so fabulous. He was amazing. And had such a long career as a preacher, a professor, a pastor of a congregation. This is when he was pastoring. So the end of the Sunday comes, like this Sunday. He's helping the custodian close up, turn off the lights, lock the doors. And he looks up, and in the back of the church is one of the teenagers. And he recognizes her. So he kind of starts wandering back that way because he's wondering, everybody's gone, but she's still standing there. So he walks back, and he says, Angela, why are you still here? Everybody's gone. Didn't I see your mom and dad leave with your little brothers and sisters? Yeah, they're in the car. I was just kind of thinking, I really stayed because I wanted to ask you a question. He said, okay, well, what's the question? She said, will I go to hell for not wanting to go to heaven? She's 16. He had the presence of mind not to say anything, but to stand there with her. Because he realized there was a whole lot in that question. And truthfully, he was thinking, I've never been asked anything that challenging ever in my entire career. She was asking something very substantial. So he waited and he said, Angela, before I say anything, can I ask you, why is it you're asking me that? And boy, did she pop out. She said, my mother's always suspicious of me, all the time. Every time I come home, it's, Angie, where have you been? Who are you with? What did you do? Why weren't you home earlier? Don't you have homework? You know, is everything okay with you? Or if I go out, where are you going? Who are you going to be with? What time are you going to come home? You know what time the curfew is? All the time suspicious, Pastor. She gets at me by saying that all the time. And then she adds, you know, if you don't live the right way, if you don't do the right stuff, you're not going to go to heaven. And then she said quietly, what my mother doesn't understand is I'm not really thinking about going to heaven. You get her point? Because I want you to work on it. Think about it. It is a fabulous interchange. You know, the other day I was with Lois in the car. She's driving. We pass a little church. And I mumbled something. She said, typically, speak up, what did you say? And I said, well, I wouldn't go there anyway. She looked at me, she said, what are you talking about? I said, oh, you didn't see the sign. The sign said, come on in, we can help. If you keep sinning, you are going to hell. Surely there's something more to this business than that. I'm sorry, but surely. It's right. I may be going to hell. Actually, y'all don't have to worry about that. I do. In fact, there's some, if they're watching TV, they know I'm going to hell, and they're probably going to call me today about it. But, yeah, thank you for that. Yep. That was the choir, by the way. They think I'm going to hell. All right, so we got this sorted. But you get my point. I mean, I really have thought about this my entire career. I think about it all the time. That language. A lot of you bring that language to me and say, can you help me with this? Truthfully, sometimes I'm not sure I can help Tom and Chris. I'm not sure we can help. I don't kind of know what to say. But surely there's more than we're trying to escape our fallen nature to escape some kind of punishment. Surely. I'm not saying it's not right, and I'm not also saying that psychologically it may be the right answer for somebody in a dire place. It may pull them out of a dire place, and I have witnessed that. So I get all that. I'm just asking you, what about the guilt? I mean, I've never understood and kind of wondered and figured out what it does. I see the adverse effects of it. I see a lot of adverse effects of it. Well, just in case you think I've completely gone off my rocker, which I might have, this is a Bible, by the way. It really is. It's a real Bible. And we're in chapter 8 of Mark. So guess what? We've done half of the book of Mark, and we're about to do the next half. We're literally dead center in the center of the book, and the story that you've got in front of you, by the way, that's not about me. It is about you, and what you say about Jesus is given to you. So when Jesus asked the young men and women, who do you think I am? And they say the Messiah, what do you think they were thinking about? Well, I think they were thinking about what has just happened for 8 chapters and about 11 or 12 months of their life. They've been with him for a year. And Zondervan does a great thing, the Zondervan version of the Bible. They tell you what's about to come in each paragraph. So let me tell you what has been coming in each paragraph. So the ministry starts with Jesus, right? He calls his disciples. The first thing Jesus does is to heal a man with a mental illness. Then he goes to Simon's house and he heals his mother-in-law. He wanders around Galilee for a day. Then he heals a leper. And then he goes to a house, and there are some people who love this man so much to take the roof off the house and lower a paralytic down to him, and he heals the paralytic. Then they ask him some questions, and then he does this. He says to the people, you know what? You're more important than the Sabbath. Then he feeds 5,000, sends the 12 out, tells them, why don't y'all go do some ministry? Then he heals a man with an unclean spirit again. Then he teaches them, don't put your lamp under a bushel basket and be like a seed growing. Then he saves the boys' lives because he stops a storm and they're afraid they're going to drown. I could have preached that, couldn't I? He stops a hurricane, kind of a small hurricane. You get the point? Why do you think they said he was the Messiah? What do you think they were saying? Well, I'm going to tell you what I think. I think they were saying, you're the Messiah because you heal people and you make our lives better. Not because you yak at us and tell us what we're supposed to be about. They didn't get that answer. We might think that, but I think the story is about experience. What have they experienced? They have experienced truly Christ in their presence. Loving, loving people, caring about people, healing people. You see, they have an unpacking of the word Messiah. We probably need one too. What in the world does that mean? You see, their faith comes from their experience. Your faith comes from your experience. This is not a cerebral event today. It's a heart event. It's a soul event. It's a human event. It's an earthy event. It's an experience event. He is saying, what do you think about me since you have been with me? And you're being asked the same question. So now that you've been with me, what do you think? And then what would you say? And you know what? As Tom Raznick said in Sunday school this morning, there's not a right answer. There are lots of answers. And I'll tell you the truth, I think they will come from your experience regardless of your age. That's the way it works. Faith comes from our lived experience. And then a lot of other data that comes to us. But to be authentic, as it was for the disciples, it's going to come from you. Not from the person next to you, in front of you, behind you, the people who sat in these pews 50 years ago, or will sit in these pews in 100 years. It will come from you. You. It comes from me. Let me tell you about a young woman named Kirstie Ennis that I read about, and then I looked up because her story fascinated me so much. If you saw her, she's this young, attractive, she's small, she's not very big, wiry, obviously tough, blonde. She could kind of be a model, but when she was 18, she told her parents, you know, I'm not quite ready for college. I'm going to do this thing, and then I'm going to go to college. And they said, what's this thing you're going to do? She said, I'm going to join the Marine Corps. And they were kind of like not happy. They said, seriously? She said, yeah, I really want to do that. They said, why don't, you know, we had another life for you planned. She said, no, this is what I want to do. She said, now I'm going to get a safe job, I promise. So she said, she joined, went through boot camp, was great, loved the Marines, and she went to helicopter maintenance school and all that kind of stuff. Of course, Marines, you remember what they teach them, how to shoot before they teach them how to fix a helicopter. In 2012, she was in a helicopter flying over Afghanistan and got shot down. When it hit the ground, it knocked all her teeth out, broke her back, her pelvis, broke her legs, broke her arms, and destroyed her ankle. And she was bleeding to death. And she lived. First in Kandahar, and the great surgeons there put her back together. Then Landstuhl in Germany, then Walter Reed in America. Back at Walter Reed, she said it was tough because she had this thing called PTSD, which looks like this: flashbacks, headaches, sick of the stomach all the time, angry all the time, afraid all the time, all the time, all the time. She wasn't making it up. And she said it was tough because, you know what, she is a pretty solid girl. She knows how to care for herself. She didn't know what to do about that, but she just kind of motored on. So one day she was in, you know, her parents would come, they say, you know, you got to take care of yourself. You know, they're worried. She said, I'm going to figure this out. You know, I got my life to lead, like she's been telling them. I'm going to figure this out. They had lots of answers. She couldn't hear some of those. And one day, somebody came in her room at Walter Reed and said, do you want to snowboard? And she went, what did you say? I'm not even sure I'm going to keep my leg. They said, no, we'll teach you to snowboard. She said, when? Like, in about an hour? So they got her out of bed and took her out on the lawn. If you've ever been to Walter Reed, it will knock you out. They're out there fly fishing without arms. They're teaching them to snowboard without a leg. It's the real stuff. So they shaped a device that she could snowboard. She went downhill, and she was good at it. It helped her in a way. She said, something started coming alive, back alive. I got alive again. The next thing she did was this thing in Europe where a whole bunch of veterans got together and walked all the way across Europe together in order to raise consciousness and money for all the young men and women that had died with them in combat. The problem is she's got a really bad leg. Remember, when she got home, she had destroyed it and she had to have her leg amputated, which she actually said to turned out to be a good thing because now she can ski, she runs, and actually it's better. She's not in between, she's on to a new life. I want you to hear what she said. She said, you know, when I was going through that, she said, some days were agony. I had to push myself beyond my limits. But I found when I did that, I could discover how much further I could go. She said, like I said, though, I don't pray much anymore. She said, I kind of stopped that. But she said, I'll tell you what I do. I do talk to God a lot now. I have conversations. When I think I can't take the pain anymore or the difficulty, I tell Him. And I get better. Do you catch what happened? Faith is an experiential process. She started in one place. She is clearly in a different place. She may not be where we think she ought to be, but she is where she needs to be. Talking to God. For her, that is her definition of faith. I'll tell you one thing, that's a pretty good one. I guess what I think Jesus really was saying today when He asked the disciples, who do you think I am? I think really He had a motivation in mind. He was the ultimate motivator, by the way. He's pretty good at it. You see, the answer was, you're the Messiah. He thought, oh, well, you know, that's okay. Tap his watch. Okay, I've heard that before. Basically, though, when they start getting at, you're a healer, you're a man of compassion, you're a man of action for those who need you, you're with people who are in the worst places in life, and you walk with them, you talk with them. I think what he was kind of implying, maybe that's what you could do. And guess what? That's what they started doing. That's why you and I sit here this morning. You see, our job is to help people in their faith journeys. And I'm proud to say I see a lot of you do a whole lot of that in compassionately wonderful ways. We think we need to give answers. I do a lot. I'm invited a lot to give answers. I wonder if Jesus wasn't, though, correct. That the question is more important. Who do you say that I am? The answer can change a whole lot of stuff. Amen.
Amen. Using the form beginning on page 358, let us stand and reaffirm our faith by reciting together the words